back here now on the GSMC Chip Shot Football Podcast to talk about our last segment here to wrap up the show. The NFL trying to integrate a lot more technology into their game of football. It was announced recently that the NFL is moving forward with an optical tracking system for line to gain rulings, according to sources close to CBS Sports. They were the first to report on this news and also mentioning how the NFL has previously tried out this system a few times, actually, in a couple of stadiums around the NFL this past season, actually, and it all seemed to have been going pretty well, and the full system will be given a full preseason trial run this year. So by the time August comes, we're going to see some of this new technology be implemented in some of the preseason games. How quickly and how efficient it looks on there will be, I'm sure, the major talking points. But to talk about the optical tracking system, what does it mean and what actually is it? Well, I'll say I'm not an expert on the most advanced technological terms and definitions of it, but I did my best in sort of trying to figure out what this means and what we could expect from this new system. Basically, instead of using a microchip, which is in all the game balls currently and how the NFL tracks that right now, instead of using microchips in the game balls like usual, this technology doesn't require any microchip in the footballs and instead relies entirely on optical tracking systems, which again means, in the simplest of terms, coming from me, that the most common way that this is usually done is with cameras or a few sensors around the stadium that track really the football and its positioning, its trajectory around the field and where it lands and its point of, exit from the quarterback's arm, where it lands and all that sort of stuff. I'm assuming that multiple sensors will be placed across the field as well as one camera that solely follows the football from the time it leaves the quarterback's hand, or it gets into the receiver's, running back's hand, and then where it ends up. All those sensors and all those cameras will be put into use and following it and really triangulating. I'm using a lot of big words. Triangulating the spot of the ball, where it goes out, the exact spot, how far it is from the first down marker, all that sort of stuff will be the general idea of how this new optical tracking system sort of works in the NFL. Like I mentioned already, the NFL tried it out with a few stadiums already, specifically MetLife and Hard Rock Stadium last season. If this was to get fully integrated into the NFL, all 30 NFL stadiums would need it, plus the international stadiums where the NFL will be playing its games on. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. What does this mean for the regular chain and markers out there that have to take their time and running out there and measuring it all as closely as they can? Well, they're still going to be around, but instead of being the main, relied upon option to go to measure out the line to gain situations, they're going to be sort of used as backup options if the system, if there's any problem with it or if it's just not acting as it should. It'll be a backup and also act as a reference point on the sidelines for the coaches and the players and some of the fans in the stadium. So it's not going to be completely wiped away, but it won't be the main go-to option for some of these situations that you find yourself in the NFL. Also, on this topic, sources said that if the system goes well this preseason without any issues and everyone seems to be on board with it, then they'll try to fully integrate it into full-time use for 2024, just this season, and really try it out in all the regular season games. And I assume also if it does as well as they plan it on doing, it'll probably be implemented in the playoff games as well. Obviously, the NFL Competition Committee approved this system and its use in the preseason back in March for all NFL teams. It wasn't really talked about as much back then, but now to fully grant it, they need the league's trust, and that's why they're trying it out for one final time in this year's preseason to see how close to completion it is to fully throw it out there for regular season games. Because if you think about it, these line to gain rulings, the 4th and 1s, the 4th and inches, if the quarterback or the ball fully crossed over that first down marker. They are pretty important situations that happen in football, so to test it out in the preseason, we'll have a lot of eyes on it because some of these situations sometimes are so important that they determine the whole swing and momentum of an entire game. And oddly enough, sort of like the trend has been with other things like the kickoff rule and other rules that the NFL has sort of copied from other leagues, this system is already sort of existing in the UFL, sort of how they determine their line to gain situations, and it gets pretty precise if you have a chance to go and look at it, how the UFL does it. They get it pretty precise down to the inches and down to exactly how close it is to the first down marker. They have a whole system that, projects the image out onto the fans watching at home, how close the ball is, and it just does it pretty quickly as well, which I think is another big point of this entire system because the games, in all honesty, are long enough. So I'm of the mindset of if you can get more technology in there, I always see it as a good thing. It can only help because you try and eliminate the human error of the whole situation. And if you have this system, which essentially takes out the reviews and takes out the human error, the human, manpower to go out there and measure the line to gain. And sometimes, like we've seen, using an index card to measure how far a football is from the first down marker. None of that extra stuff is needed. You have full technological advantage here in measuring it out itself without taking the time to do it. I like that idea, but again, how quickly do they do it and how efficient and accurate it is will be the biggest points of emphasis for me. But then again, they're going to try it out in the preseason. Another reason why to watch some of the preseason games to see how this all could work itself out in the regular season. For the idea of it. How it turns out at the end of the day will be interesting, but I want to know what you guys think about it. Do you guys feel that more technology in the NFL right now as it's currently been implementing, is it going too fast? Do you like all this technology in the NFL currently, or do you think it should be taken out of it? I know that's a whole bigger issue in other sports like soccer with VAR and other sports around the world, but I feel like the NFL has done the best job of trying to do it. You have some technology complaints in the NBA and what's being reviewed and what's not. I feel like the NFL's done a great job of it, and that sort of gives me more confidence into buying what they're trying to implement now with the optical tracking system. It has sort of worked out in the past. Trying to implement it now will be something certainly to keep an eye on, but at the same time, I'm excited about it. I think it could only help if, again, you take out the human error of it. You're still going to need referees around, of course, but it should be interesting to see how it all pans out with the NFL trying to integrate some more technology into the game and trying to make it as efficient and as entertaining as possible. But on that note, that'll be all I have on this subject as well as on today's show. Thank you guys all for joining me on today's episode of the GSMC Chip Shot Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe to the show, as well as following the network on Facebook, Instagram, X, and on TikTok as well. If you want to see more of me and this show, check out the GSMC Sports Network channel and the GSMC Podcast Network channel on YouTube, where YouTube Shorts are posted every weekday. All the live recorded shows, full shows, are all on both channels, and individual segment videos. If you don't have time to watch an entire show, each segment is placed on both of the YouTube channels as well. As a final reminder, tune in every weekday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time for more discussions and football talk with me, Manny Maradiegi, as your host. Thanking you guys for joining me on today's show, and hopefully I see you guys all back here again to wrap up the week tomorrow.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to